In today's video, we're going to talk about active listening and passive hearing. Firstly, let's discuss what active listening and passive hearing is. Active listening, as the name suggests, is the process wherein the listener carefully listens what the speaker has to say, processes the message, and then responds to the message to lead the conversation further. It requires concentration, attention, and a genuine interest in understanding the speaker's message or expressions. Active listening entails paying attention to nonverbal indicators such as body language and facial expressions, and not only listening to words. Both verbal and nonverbal cues are important in active listening. Verbal cues include repeating the lines or summarizing the matter spoken, making suggestions or disagreeing with the thoughts, and asking appropriate questions. Nonverbal ones include nodding, eye contact, and so on. Additionally, active listening includes providing feedback, clarifying information, and asking relevant questions to ensure comprehension and demonstrate involvement in the conversation. For example, in this video from the movie Suits,
your interviews are set up for tomorrow.
What? Why don't we just hire the Harvard summer associate douche?
I think if you listen to the phrasing of that question, you'll come up with an answer.
We need people who think on their feet, not another clone with a rod to possess.
we see an excellent example of active listening. During this scene, Harvey engages in a conversation with Jessica, demonstrating his commitment to understanding by actively clarifying information and posing relevant questions to enhance his comprehension. During this conversation, there was no form of distraction or divided attention, or one party listening to the other party partially. Contrary to active listening, let's also talk about passive hearing. Passive hearing means listening to a speaker during communication, but in an unconscious manner. Simply put, in passive hearing, the listener is just listening to the words but not the message. It is a situation when someone hears but does not fully process or respond to shared information. They sit quietly without responding to the speaker. A passive listener simply allows the other person to speak without interruption or clarification. As a result, communicating with a passive listener is inefficient and incomplete. In the scene from the TV show Friends,
but of course, this went right in one ear.
I love how he cares so much about stuff. If I squint,
we can observe an example of passive listening. Ross is speaking to his friends, but they appear distracted and disengaged, demonstrating a lack of focus on the message he's conveying. Their thoughts are clearly elsewhere, indicating passive listening rather than active engagement in the conversation. Since there is no feedback or questions in passive listening, the speaker also has no way of knowing whether the listener understood the message or not. Now, let's talk about the differences between active listening and passive hearing. The very first difference we will point out, which is a common one, is focus. Active listening entails paying close attention to the speaker and the message being given. The engaged listener devotes their attention actively to the speaker, cutting out distractions and external noise. Active listening requires the listener to concentrate, understand, respond, and recall what was heard. In passive listening, however, the listener's mind may wander to other issues, dividing their focus between the speaker and other thoughts or distractions. For example, in the TV show Friends,
if I was a superhero who could fly and be invisible, that would be the best.
While Ross was speaking, everyone he was speaking to was having different thoughts going on in their minds, which obviously will result in a less thorough understanding of the message and may miss important details or clues. The second important factor that differentiates active listening from passive listening is feedback. Although passive listening does not contain comments or inquiries, active listening does, because a passive listener does not provide feedback or ask questions. It is uncertain whether they understand what is being asked. Active listeners will show they are receiving information by nodding, asking questions, using good body language, and other behaviors. In the video,
I want to have maybe more results oriented. So I'm confused, and that's a little bit about it.
Okay, great. So what I heard you say was that you got a client. It's been a client that you've had a relationship with for some time.
we can witness a clear demonstration of feedback within the context of active listening. In this exchange, one participant spoke about her job with clients, and the other responded with feedback, asking questions relating to the discussion at hand, indicating active engagement. This interaction highlights how active listening involves not only attentively hearing the words spoken, but also providing meaningful responses to demonstrate understanding and participation in the conversation. Another point we will consider as a major difference is the nonverbal cues. Active listening contains natural nonverbal indicators such as nodding and making eye contact, which passive listening lacks. Examples of some nonverbal clues shown by an active listener are changes in facial expression, rolling of eyes, showing interest by questioning or smiling, etc. On the other hand, a passive listener generally exhibits nonverbal clues such as yawning, looking here and there, showing boredom, being silent, etc. So now let's talk about a few tips on how you can become an active listener. Ask good questions. The finest listeners go deeper by attempting to comprehend the meaning of what the other person is saying. This necessitates asking clarifying questions and pushing the other person to better define their stance, assess their assumptions, and see the problems in a fresh light. When listening attentively, you can ask good questions. You can understand what the speaker is saying and answer with precise and accurate questions to move the conversation forward. Also, it is advisable that before you can ask a good question, you must wait to speak. Seek to understand, not just to respond. One of the most important and sometimes most difficult aspects of being a listener is not interrupting. To actively listen, you must rely on indications that someone has finished speaking before opening your lips to speak. Try to stop waiting for your opportunity to speak and continue to actively listen to what the other person is saying. Allow them to fully express their thoughts before you speak. Also, to become an active listener, you must have this trait, which is curiosity. While you should give the speaker time to express their message without interruption, good listening also requires remaining curious and open-minded. With anything in life, curiosity has the power to take us to greater levels. When you listen with curiosity and a real desire to learn more, you will be more focused and attentive. The more you can ask questions and think creatively about what the speaker is saying, the more likely you will be to properly interpret their message. Also, to become an active listener during conversation, you must stop filling in holes. Stopping to fill in gaps or interruptions when someone is speaking is a key aspect of being a good listener because it allows the speaker to express themselves fully without feeling rushed or misunderstood. By patiently waiting for the speaker to finish their thoughts, you demonstrate respect and attentiveness, which can foster better communication and rapport. The level of attentiveness is quite important in the listening process. The distinction between active and passive listening is based on the listener's attention and participation in the discourse. Don't forget to check out more videos like this on our YouTube channel. We're dedicated to helping you on your journey to becoming a master of communication. Until then, keep honing your listening skills, and we'll see you in the next video.